Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm sorry that my NaNoWriMo update is coming a little bit late and that I'm combining it with my Monday video. My original intention had been to do 4 Monday videos as usual throughout November and an additional 4 videos about NaNoWriMo, and to be honest the last week has just been a little bit mental, so I'm combining them together today and then I will do separate videos for the rest of the month where possible. So I think what I'd like to do today is I'm going to talk to you about what I've learned in the last week and a half on NaNoWriMo so far. We are on the 13th, so we are 13 days into the month, technically almost halfway now, and I wanted to talk about where I've been up to, what I've been doing, what I've learned about myself, about my project in this month, because I've had a few revelations and I think it could be a little bit of a game changer for me personally. So I'm going to talk to you about those, and then what I thought for the second half of the video is I would talk to you about how I motivate myself and how I find motivation to write, because I think that's something that I have had a couple of times recently from people, especially as I've been talking a little bit more about my marketing, about the fact that I work full-time and then write my books around my work. A lot of people have asked, how do you get motivated? How do you find the time and the energy to write around a business? And so I've got a few tips and tricks that I use to help me try and stay motivated as much as possible. So I thought I'd share some of those at the end to hopefully, maybe if you're in the middle of NaNoWriMo now and you're feeling a little bit in a slump, you're worried that you're not hitting the targets that you were at the beginning, you need a little boost of energy to get you through the rest of the month, then hopefully this will help. So without further ado, let's go on to talking about how my NaNoWriMo projects are going so far. So in terms of my projects, I set 2 targets at the beginning of this month. The first was to finish my Discoveries Prize entry, and the second was to finish Elsie's story, which is my Lighthouse book. So I'm writing a book, I'm calling it roughly the Lighthouse book at the moment, hasn't got a title, and it jumps around in different time periods, and one of the historical characters is called Elsie, and I've been wanting to get her story completely finished so that I feel like I can move on to the next stage, because I'm very much getting stuck with Elsie's story. Now, I've made significant progress on both of these points, and that's why I'm really happy. That's why I feel like I've kind of turned a corner this month in terms of understanding the projects, understanding myself a little bit more. So both projects are going well, is the short answer to that. So let's talk about Elsie first and the Lighthouse project. So with this, I haven't actually done any writing, which I know is quite shocking. Oh, I'm getting a call. Sorry about that, I just had a phone call come in and I had to take it, so had to nip off for a second. So I think what I was literally just about to say was that I haven't actually written any words for the Lighthouse novel, and that probably sounds quite shocking for a lot of people doing NaNoWriMo, because the main target of NaNoWriMo is to write like 40,000 words or something, and to basically write an entire novel in a month. And for me to be halfway through NaNoWriMo, not actually have done any writing on the project yet, could feel quite scary. However, I have had a big revelation with the project recently. So I think a lot of the barriers for me recently have been in not knowing kind of where to take the story next. So I've always had, one of the very first things that I did with this project was I wrote about a series of letters that my character finds. And those letters are between a brother and sister that kind of explain what's happened to this lighthouse keeper in the past. And it always felt a bit clunky. I never quite could figure out, well, why is this sister, is she not involved more? How would we understand enough of what's happening in letters when letters aren't like diary entries or something like that? And I was really struggling. I was really having a big brain block with it. And I'm trying to decide whether the Lighthouse novel or another project is the one that I submit for the Discoveries Prize. And so as part of working on my Discoveries Prize entry, I decided to look back at the synopsis for the Lighthouse novel, because you have to submit like I think it's 500 to 1,000 word synopsis of your project, as well as the first 10,000 words that you've written. And so I submitted the Lighthouse project last year for the Discoveries Prize, didn't get anywhere. You are allowed to resubmit the same project, especially if you've worked on it and developed it since you've first submitted, which I have. And so I went back and I was reading over the synopsis and looking through, and I just had a little bit of a light bulb moment where I realised we don't need the sister. If we cut the sister out entirely, the wife of the lighthouse keeper can tell the exact same story as the sister, and actually being present at the time of when the events happen make it a more of a closed world. It makes it less, I don't know, it made it feel a lot better. So that was a huge breakthrough moment for me, really. I was able to go through the synopsis and I've changed quite a lot of things in the synopsis that for me make it feel like they fit better. The kind of timeline of why certain things happen, the connection through history. So we've got the historical character in 1790, we've got the wartime character of Elsie, and then we've got the present day character. It all kind of felt like it fit a little bit more. So that was super exciting. When I finished that, I was like, oh God, that feels so much better with that kind of synopsis now. So I haven't written anything for the Lighthouse project, but I do feel like having gone through that process, I can now start to think about looking at that chapter breakdown again and trying to get to a point where I know what's happening in every chapter, and then I can move on to the actual writing of the chapters. So I'll be totally and completely honest, I don't know if I'm going to write anything on the Lighthouse project this month. But if I do, I feel like I'm going to be really focused in terms of how that's going. So that's the Lighthouse project. Bit of a weird update, but for me, it feels like I've just got over an enormous hurdle in kind of the creativity of the project. So that's really good. With the Discoveries Prize, I have been working on my other writing project. And that one is a little bit more of an unusual novel. It's set in a mental health institute. It's about two characters who meet who are kind of unlikely friends who kind of share their own stories of why they've ended up in this facility. And there's a little bit of a kind of an unexplained, not paranormal twist, but maybe a bit of a supernatural twist to the book. And there's a lot of discussion around mental health and age and gender and what it means to suffer with your mental health and how the world perceives somebody who has mental health struggles. So it's a bit of an odd one to describe. It's not as simple to describe as my Lighthouse novel, but it's something that I've been writing for many, many years. Like, I've been writing bits and pieces of it. I've been developing the idea for it for many years. And so I just wondered whether it would be worth giving that a shot through the Discoveries Prize, because one of the things that they do say at the Discoveries Prize is that it doesn't have to be a finished novel, it just needs to be a good idea. And I do think that this novel, it's got something in it that is really, really relatable and really of its time now, but also I think it talks about historic understanding of mental health and people who maybe are of a certain age now who didn't have that support in younger life, in their childhood, and how that kind of impacts later life. And I just think it's quite a relevant kind of story, but I also think I've not seen another story out there like it. And so I'm hoping that would create quite a unique narrative. So I think that's going to be the one that I submit to the Discoveries Prize. So bearing that in mind, I've been working on the synopsis for that one. So I have I have written about 750 words of a synopsis for that project. And actually I've been going over the first 10,000 words of that, because I think I've got something like 50,000 words written of that book. But it's very kind of changeable, especially the middle section. I've got the first bit written out, but one big thing that I did want to do is I wanted to change the tense. I wanted to put my main character, who is a clinical psychiatrist, I wanted to create her character in the first person and then create the other two characters that interact with each other in the third person. So that's one thing that I have been doing so far, is I've been going through the first 10,000 words and I've been changing the tense from she to I and kind of trying to switch that around a little bit. And that might change within the final project. I I kind of come to different ideas with this all the time. Sometimes I'm like, oh, I'll write from the perspective of the doctor. And then I'm like, oh, I'll write a perspective from the female. And then I'll write a perspective of the male. And I'd love to do one of those books. Maybe it might even end up being a project where it's a bit like a Jodie Picoult, where you see it from lots of different perspectives. Something like that could be really interesting. But yeah, that's what, at the moment, I think I'm going to write it from the doctor's perspective. And then that's what I've been doing. So I've been changing a lot of the tense around. I've been writing the synopsis. It's a long synopsis and it's not very clear at the moment. I need to do more work on it, but I'm hoping that if I can get it a little bit tighter, then it will be good. And I am going to share the synopsis with a few people, see what they think of it. I'm not going to share the 10,000 words, but I am going to share the synopsis and see what people's reactions to it are. And yeah, I think that's the one I'm going to submit. So it's really good. I've had a really, really good couple of weeks, despite the fact that I'm only spending 30 minutes a day on these projects and I'm not working on them in the weekend. I actually do feel like I'm moving forward with them, which kind of brings me on to the next big learning that I've had, or the next big revelation that I've had in this 2 weeks about NaNoWriMo and about me writing in general, is that I've realised that for me, putting an hour aside a day is a blocker. It's a real time block. For some reason in my mind, I can't get my head around an hour. It feels like a really long time. It feels like a huge commitment, especially at the end of the day when it gets to like 5-6 o'clock and I'm supposed to be winding down for the evening. And then I've got to put an hour in my time to do some writing. It feels too big to achieve. And so when I'm tired, I'm like, oh, I'll do that tomorrow instead. Whereas for some reason, I've been finding that 30 minutes is so achievable. I'm like, oh, I can do 30 minutes. It's easy. It's over and done with before you even realise what you're doing. And I've been so much more accountable to myself and I've been doing it a lot more consistently this month in the 30 minutes than I have in other previous NaNoWriMos. So that's been a little bit of a revelation really for me, and a little bit of a sign that actually, if I work within my known capabilities and my known energy levels and my known commitments, and actually do something that, even if it's teeny tiny, is a little bit of a forward step every day, then I feel like I'm achieving the same amount as if I was writing for hours every day. So yeah, I'm really happy that I've kind of found this little 30-minute window every day where I can do a little bit, even if it's synopsis writing, reviewing, reading, doing a bit of writing or editing. Like I'm seeing all of that as NaNoWriMo work. I'm seeing it all as the writing work. I think that's a really key thing. It's so easy to get our minds into the fact of you're only a writer if you're actually writing. And I don't think that's true. You're a writer if you are crafting your story, if you're researching, if you're planning, if you're editing. All of that is part of the process. So yeah, that's been a really big thing for me to take away this week and this month. So yeah, that's the NaNoWriMo update. So in terms of productivity, in terms of keeping myself inspired and accountable and finding the energy, finding the motivation to write, I think for me, the big thing is it's so easy for me to say, oh, I'm too tired to write, or oh, I've got too much work on, or oh, well, I'm supposed to be spending time with Tom rather than writing tonight. And I've made all those excuses historically. I really have. And I've not written for months at a time. January until about May 2023, so this year, the beginning of this year, I didn't write at all. I didn't do any, well, no, that's a lie. The whole of January and most of February, I was working on my non-fiction book. But I wasn't doing any creative work, wasn't doing any creative writing, wasn't working on my novel at all. And then February time, I stopped working on the non-fiction book as well. I put that on pause and I didn't do anything in March, April or May, maybe even in June as well, in terms of creative work or writing. And I saw a huge dip in my mental health, as in I was getting burnt out with work, I was getting irritable, I didn't want to do it anymore. I was just generally feeling really kind of low and like, what is the point of everything that I'm doing? I'm getting up in the morning, I'm not very happy. And I think a lot of that was built into the fact that I wasn't having any of that creative work. I wasn't doing anything creatively. And therefore, it wasn't re-energizing me for my day job. It wasn't re-energizing me generally because I didn't feel like I had my purpose. I wasn't doing my purpose. It sounds very dramatic, but it's just how my brain works. It's just how my brain operates, is that if I'm not being creative, I'm not working on my writing, then my mental health suffers. So that's a huge motivator for me, because I know that I am healthier. I know that I am happier if I'm writing. And so it's just like, you know, somebody who goes out for a walk for 30 minutes every day makes their mental health feel better. Somebody who paints their nails and has beautifully painted nails and has a lot of self-care and does a lot of skincare routines and that kind of thing, that's good for their mental health. For me, creativity and writing is a big part of my mental health care, and so that's a huge motivator for me. And then I do a few things practically to get myself motivated. So I seem to be finding at the moment with this current project that I'm writing, the Lighthouse project, and a little bit with the mental health project as well, both of those deal with quite dark, either dark settings. So the Lighthouse, a lot of the kind of action takes place at night and dark, stormy weather. And in the mental health project, a lot of the subject matter is quite dark. And so I'm finding that actually I'm mostly motivated at night. So I'll get myself in my little office here, I get my fairy lights switched on, I get my lamp on, I can see out of my window, there's usually kind of stuff going on that I can kind of see, the street lights are lit up, and it kind of creates this little kind of cocoon where I can write, and I feel so inspired in the dark. It's very strange, I can't really explain it, but there's something about the quiet of nighttime that allows my kind of brain to start thinking and start being its over imaginative self. And so there's no point in me pushing myself to get up at 8 o'clock in the morning and do an hour of writing before I start work. There's no point in me doing bits and pieces in and amongst the day, or doing it just before I start dinner on an evening. Like as long as it's dark, that's when I can write. And I've just had to accept that at the moment, that's when I'm finding myself the most motivated to write. So that's why I would recommend, I think, have a look at a standard day for you. What does it look like when you sit down and in a perfect day, you find a really good window to write, and you feel inspired and you feel like you hit good targets and you feel creatively like you're achieving what you want to? Have a think about what the kind of environmental impacts are at that point. Are you in a coffee shop, for example, where you've got no distractions of your phone or your computer in front of you? Is it nighttime, like me? Is it getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning and writing? Some people are super morning people. That's absolutely fine. I'm not, but other people are. If that's your jam, then go with that. There is no rhyme or reason. There's no right way to write. You know, it's about finding the right way for you and the right kind of circumstances. I'm getting a bit croaky, that's weird. Finding the right kind of place for you to write and finding the best setting that will inspire you. And that then motivates you, because you sit down, you feel comfortable, you feel inspired, and you're like, right, okay, I'm ready to go. And you feel motivated to write then. The other thing that I do as well to motivate myself, if I'm really struggling, I'm having one of those days where I'm like, oh, do you know, I'm sat down, I'm in the dark, I've got my drink, I'm ready, but I'm still not feeling ready. I don't know where to start. I don't know what to do. Then sometimes I'll do a Pomodoro. Now, that doesn't always work with something like what I'm doing in November with 30 minutes, because Pomodoros generally last, you know, they get you through 2 or 3 hours of writing rather than just 30 minutes. But I will sometimes do that because it helps me God, my brain's not working today. It helps me to stop being distracted by other things on my computer, like YouTube videos or other work that comes in, or emails or anything like that. If I put a Pomodoro on, I've got music on, I've got that on one screen, and on the other screen I can look at my project. And I find that really helps in terms of saying, okay, you've got 20 minutes or 50 minutes, however long you want to go for on these Pomodoros. You've got 20 minutes, you're going to do a full 20-minute session, and then you can have 10 minutes of watching something. I can watch something on YouTube, I can get up and walk around and do a task around my house, like maybe put some washing on or take some crockery. I've got my coffee mug here, my Nerd Forge coffee mug, which is I have to say, one of the best insulated coffee mugs I've ever used. And I could take that downstairs, make another coffee. And I think by giving myself that little reward at the end, I feel like I'm a bit of a broken record because I've said this for years, is that I'm a reward-based worker. I will work for a set period of time and then I need a reward at the end. And that reward can be anything. It can be watching 10 minutes of a YouTube video. It can be having a snack. It can be going for a walk. It can be having a chat to a friend on a voice note. It can be anything. It can be sticking my face in Stanley's fluffy little belly. Anything that I need as that reward is what I use to then get me through the first 20 minutes of work. So I've definitely mentioned that before, but it's a huge thing for me in terms of on those days where I don't feel hugely inspired, where I'm struggling with motivation, where everything in my brain is telling me, just walk away from the computer and don't bother today. That's when I pull out the Pomodoro, and that's when I pull out the reward-based work. I'm like, right, I'm putting a timer on my phone for 15 minutes and I'm going to do 15 minutes. And then when I sit down, if at that point I'm really struggling and I'm like, right, okay, well, what am I going to write? Because I'm not feeling this. I bullet point. And this is something that I've done with a lot of my copywriting, both in my marketing work and in creative writing, is that if I'm not feeling the flow of a conversation, of a setting, of this, that, and the other, what I will generally do is go, okay, I know what I need to write next, and I'll come on to that bit in a minute. I know what I need to write next. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bullet point what happens. So I'll write out some very quick bullet points of what I know needs to happen in this scene or needs to happen in this chapter. And then I go through and I try to change each bullet point into a couple of sentences. And by the time I've got to that point where I'm changing the bullet point into sentences, generally my brain's clicked into writing mode and I can then expand all those bullet points into paragraphs, and I suddenly start writing. I'm like, right, okay, I'm in, I've got the flow, I'm going now. And that's kind of my way in. If my brain doesn't want to write, that's how I kind of trick it into writing. I bullet point, I expand the bullet points, and then I write the paragraphs. And coming on to that point of I know what to write, that is a huge tip that I got from somebody. It was somebody at the Huddersfield Literature Festival last year, and I can't think who it was as a writer. It might have been Nell Pattison. It could also have been Millie Johnson. One of those writers, somebody said, what they always do is they never finish writing for a day at the end of a scene or the end of a chapter. They never like write to the end and go, right, I've got to the end, that's it, I'll leave it for the day. Because generally what happens then is that when you come back to the project the next day, you've got to start from a baseline, you've got to start from the bottom, and you've got to think, okay, well, what's happening in this scene? Who's doing it? Who's doing that? And so what they said was that they always either stop in the middle of a scene, or if they've got to the end of a scene, they will start the next scene either in those bullet points or in just writing a few sentences of, okay, this is what's going to happen next. This is where you need to start off, so that when they come back to the project the next day, they can jump straight back in. It's like, all right, okay, I know what I need to write next. And so they'll start writing. And they may find that they rewrite that bit because it's not as good as when you're kind of properly in the zone after about 10, 15 minutes. But at least what it does is it gives you that jumping off point. You're not having to start from a hard stop. You're kind of already, the ball is starting to roll and you're just picking up that rolling ball really and going with it that's already going. And that was a really big tip, to be honest. And it's something that I've done ever since I heard from that person. So all the way through the summer and into the autumn, I've been doing that. I've been making sure that I know what comes next in the next day that I sit down and write. So that's a huge tip. In terms of like that motivation. And it's funny, isn't it? Because I think a lot of us see motivation as sitting down to the desk to write. But actually, sitting down at a desk is easy. It's actually getting into doing the actual writing that's the bit that you need motivation for. And these are tips that I think just help ease that process, help ease you into it, help you make the most out of the time that you put into one side. Because unless you're writing full time, you are having to you're having to fit this writing time in around your life, around your work, around your family. And so it's about, I hope these little tips and things are helping you to kind of make the most of that time, because your time is precious and your writing creative time is precious. And so you want to make the most of it when you sit down to do it. yeah, I think a lot of motivational tips are very personal. You find personally what works for you, but hopefully some of these tips have helped and helped you feel motivated. And if you are in the middle of NaNoWriMo at the moment and you're struggling, let me know and we can have a chat about it. And yeah, let me know how you are. If you're doing amazingly, let me know as well, because I know there's some people out there that are absolutely bashing out words this month and doing a really great job at it. So yeah, let me know how it's all going. And I will be back again next week. I don't know what the video is for next week. Again, I've not got my video planner up on my computer, but it'll be a bit kind of writing and literary based again, because like I say, a lot of the content for November is based around writing and literature and NaNoWriMo, but as of the 1st of December, we'll be getting into kind of the more general content again. I've got a couple of period drama videos planned, got a couple of outings planned, so a couple of little vlog type things, and some Christmassy content as well. So it's going to be a cool festive season, actually. I'm really looking forward to it. But in the meantime, thank you so much for watching this video. All the best with your NaNoWriMo projects. Let me know how you're getting on. And yeah, I will speak to you soon. Okay, guys, take care. See you soon. Bye.